You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am the Jacob Valk, and you're not. I've got to start by previewing Game 6 of the NBA Finals. The Milwaukee Bucks obviously have the opportunity to win the Finals tonight in front of their home crowd. Should be a great game. The last 2 games of these finals have been sensational. We've had iconic moments. We've had big comebacks. It's kind of interesting. The first 3 games were terrible. There was no juice at all. These last couple games, we've gotten a lot of juice. So it's going to be really exciting to see what happens tonight. If the Suns are going to force a Game 7, I want them to not be as Devin Booker-centric as they've been the past couple games. Think about the games that the Suns have won in this series, Games 1 and 2. Game 1, the best Sun on the floor was Chris Paul. Game 2, the best Sun was probably Booker, but Chris Paul and Mikal Bridges weren't far behind. You take a look at what happened in Game 5, Devin Booker attempted 33 field goals. To put that in perspective, Chris Paul attempted the second most field goals out of any Sun. You know how many field goals he attempted? 15. If you doubled it, it still wouldn't eclipse Booker's number. This isn't a knock on Booker. Obviously, he's gotten his recently, back-to-back 40-point games. That's incredible. Especially when you factor in what he did in Game 3. Only putting up 10 points. Job well done by Booker. But I'd like the other Suns to get involved. Guys like Paul, DeAndre Ayton, Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson. Let Booker be the alpha. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But in that same realm, I want to see guys like Paul and Ayton. If Booker wants to be the lead dog, that's fine. He's the best player on the Suns. But it can't be such a stark difference. That's not going to work. That's not how the Suns win. The Suns win by sharing the wealth. And by taking advantage of injuries. I mean, it's the truth. They're facing a healthy team for the first time in these playoffs. They're 1 game away from losing. That's a bad look for the Suns. I'm sorry. It just is. If the Bucks are going to win this game, their big 3 needs to show up. In this series, they've had big 2s. They haven't had big 3s. Game 1, Jrue Holiday no-showed. Game 2. Chris Middleton and Holiday no-showed. Game 3, that was mostly Giannis. I don't want to knock what Holiday and Middleton did. They weren't awful, but they weren't great. Game 4, Holiday no-showed. Game 5, the big three showed up, and that's why the Bucks won. Make no mistake about it, the Bucks very easily could have lost Game 5. They needed their big three to show up. They did. The unsung hero being Pat Connaughton. Very frustrating to see Pat Connaughton contributing when you think about how Joe Harris no-showed in the Bucks series. Connaughton and Harris are very similar players, and Harris is better. Yet Connaughton steps up when his team needs him to. Harris doesn't. Yeah, I'm not going to get over this loss for a while. But look, the Bucks need their big three to step up. It's nice if you get contributions from guys like Connaughton, Portis, and Lopez, but more than anything, it's got to be the big three. There is another piece of NBA news to talk about. According to Will Guillory of The Athletic, the Pelicans will trade Steven Adams and/or Eric Bledsoe. Look, it's the right decision to want to move on from those guys. Adams wasn't a good fit next to Zion Williamson. And Eric Bledsoe had a really, really bad season. The thing is, though, you're running into a really dangerous issue, though. And David Griffin should know better than this. He's building his core up, then he's tearing it down. Then he's building it up, then he's tearing it down. It's what Phil Jackson did with the Knicks. It doesn't work. Pick a lane and stay in it. Less than a year ago, this was the big trade. We're going to trade Jrue Holiday, but you know what? We're going to get two big pieces back, and this is the core that's going to send Zion to the playoffs. Needless to say, it didn't work. I mean, to make matters worse, you're now at the point where you may need to trade draft picks just to get other teams to take Adams and/or Bledsoe. That's a bad look for David Griffin. You have one job. Put a core around Zion that can get to the playoffs. So far, you have not done that. Yes, you have Brandon Ingram. Yes, you have Lonzo Ball. But last time I checked, you need more than 3 players on a basketball team. You made the decision to move on from Jrue Holiday. Now he's 1 win away from the NBA Finals. The players that you traded him for did nothing for you. You may need to add picks just to get them off your books. This is a terrible look. We've heard rumors that Zion's unhappy. Do I have any idea if it's true or not? No. I mean, I'll say this. As great as Zion is, and he's allowed to be unhappy, there's no question, but it needs to end there. He can't request a trade. I'm not saying he has, but he's only been in the NBA for 2 seasons. Okay, you can't request a trade after 2 seasons. If you want to say, oh, I'm being misused, okay, I get that. That's okay if you want to request a trade for that reason. But to say, I'm never going to win here, no, you haven't earned that right. Again, though, he hasn't done that. But this is a tough situation for the Pelicans. David Griffin needs to get this right. I don't know who we can trade Adams and or Bledsoe for. I understand wanting to move on from them. I understand not wanting to double down on a mistake. If you want to say, hey, you know what? I thought this could work. I was wrong. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. And will be better for it. I get that. The thing is, though, the Pelicans fans have seen this movie before. They've seen their team fail to surround their superstars with talent. And then those superstars get traded. Let me ask you something. Can you say with 100% confidence that Zion Williamson is going to be a Pelican for the next 5 years? Bear in mind, he's 21. I can't say that with 100% confidence. The Pelicans need to develop a core around him and stick with it. So far, they haven't done that. They have a couple key building blocks in Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball, assuming they keep Lonzo around. Other than that, though, it's scary. All in all, it's the right decision to want to move on from Adams and Bledsoe, but it is a bad look for the Pelicans. There's no question about that. You trade Jrue Holiday, and you say that these two guys are going to help get Zion Williamson to the playoffs. It didn't work. The Pelicans need to prove that they can put a consistent winner around Zion sooner rather than later. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Valk talk. And the big story here is that Aaron Rodgers declined an offer from the Packers that would have made him the highest paid player in the NFL. It would have been a 2-year extension, so it would have tied Rodgers to the Packers for 5 more seasons. Rodgers is signed with the Packers through 2023, so the Packers wanted to make that through 2025. Somehow, someway, the Packers found a way to make the Jordan Love pick look even stupider. You're going to sign Aaron Rodgers to a 2-year extension. Lock him up through 2025. He'll be 42. And not in this past draft, the draft before. You took a quarterback in the first round. Somehow, someway, the Packers found a way to make the Jordan Love pick look even worse. I didn't even know that was possible. This is actually really scary for the Packers. I mean, this is the Packers saying to Rodgers, hey, we were wrong. We shouldn't have taken Jordan Love. You're going to be our guy for the foreseeable future. We're going to make you the highest paid player in the NFL. Rodgers said, no. I'm going to say something that I've never said before. There's now a strong chance that the Packers could be forced to trade Aaron Rodgers. If this doesn't mend fences between the Packers and Rodgers, nothing will. And you know what? I don't blame Rodgers for feeling disrespected. If he feels that the bridge has been burned already, it's too late to repair it now. This is it. This is the tipping point. This is Armageddon, if you're the Packers. For him to turn down this contract, it proves that Rodgers really wants out. Like, nothing the Packers do will make this work. Whatever changes the Packers can make, firing the president, firing the GM, firing the coach, trading Love, it's not good enough. Aaron Rodgers really wants out. I thought cooler heads would prevail. Now, no way. Now I really think that Rodgers is going to hold out until he's traded. He's going to pull a Carson Palmer. This has James Harden vibes to me. If you'll recall, the Rockets offered James Harden a huge extension. He said no. Then the Rockets traded him to the Nets. The Packers just offered Aaron Rodgers a huge extension. He said no. I don't see how this situation is salvageable. You know what? The reality is the Packers made their bed. They need to sleep in it. Aaron Rodgers has a right to feel disrespected. He has a right to be upset about the Jordan Love pick. That trade never made sense. It didn't make sense to kick that field goal. You can't blame Aaron Rodgers 1 second for wanting out of Green Bay. Maybe I'm late to the party in saying all this, but I really thought cooler heads would prevail. I didn't think there was a chance on earth that the Packers would trade Rodgers. But you know what? Rodgers is saying to the Packers, you made your bed, you need to sleep in it. You disrespect me by not surrounding me with talent. You disrespect me by drafting my heir apparent, even though I've shown no signs of slowing down. You've disrespected me by choosing to kick a field goal rather than giving me a chance to send this team to the Super Bowl. I'm done putting up with it. I want out. How crazy is this? That game against the Buccaneers will be the last game that Aaron Rodgers ever played in Green Bay. The disrespect is real. I don't blame Rodgers for a second for being upset. It brings up the question, where is Rodgers going to go? The obvious landing spot is the Denver Broncos. They've been linked to Rodgers heavily all throughout this process. They're not in the NFC, so the Packers wouldn't have to deal with them. It would make a ton of sense, there's no question about that. I'll say this, though. The Giants should be all in on Rodgers. And this is coming from a Jets fan. Okay, I hate the Giants. But if you put Aaron Rodgers on the Giants, they're a Super Bowl contender. Think whatever you want about Daniel Jones, but he will never be as good as Aaron Rodgers. You have the opportunity to trade for Aaron Rodgers, to take advantage of a shaky NFC East. You've got to do it. Will the Giants do it? That doesn't strike me as something they do, but I wouldn't rule it out. It's what I would do if I was Dave Gettleman. Here's another thing. The two other likeliest landing spots for Rodgers are the Eagles and Washington. Jalen Hurts stinks. Howie Roseman is on the hot seat. What better way for him to cool that seat off than to trade for Aaron Rodgers? And Washington doesn't have a quarterback of the future. It's obviously not Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's probably not Taylor Heineke. It's not Kyle Allen. If you put Rodgers on Washington, they're a Super Bowl threat. Just like the Giants. I'd say the 4 likeliest landing spots are the Broncos, Washington, the Giants, and the Eagles. And the Eagles are a distant 4th, because I think they want to try to make Jalen Hurts work for some stupid reason. But again, just to reiterate, I really think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be traded. I have never said those words before. For the Packers' sake, Jordan Love better work out. Because if he doesn't, we're going to talk about this whole situation for time immemorial. Alright, now I'll give you some MLB Valk talk. We had a couple blowouts yesterday that I really want to talk about. The first one is the Tigers annihilating the Rangers 14-0. You know you're bad when you lose to the Tigers 14-0. I mean, that is atrocious. I understand that the Tigers are 3rd in the AL Central, but that's a weak division outside of the White Sox. Tigers are 7 games under 500. They're not good. You can't lose to them 14-0. The Rangers aren't that good, okay? They're last in the AL West, 24 games under 500. They're an absolute joke. But that's still a really, really bad look. Now, I may be the only person that's upset about this. At the end of the day, it probably didn't matter too much. But I didn't think that Chris Woodward managed that game well for the Rangers. You've got Kyle Gibson laboring to get through the 5th inning. Gives up the big RBI double to Cabrera that busts the game wide open. Makes it 6-0 Tigers. Before that, he had hit Robbie Grossman. Before that, he had given up an RBI single to Jonathan Scope. Gibson just didn't have it. He was laboring. You could see it. Somehow, some way, Woodward thought that it would be the right decision to send Kyle Gibson back out there for the 6th inning. What did he think would happen? 6-0 is not insurmountable. The odds are that you're going to lose that game, but 6-0 in the bottom of the 6th? Not impossible. Keep in mind, you're going up against the Tigers. You got into their bullpen really early. It's not impossible to come back from that. You keep Kyle Gibson out there. What does he do? He gives up a walk and a single, then you decide to pull him. You put Brett Martin immediately behind the 8 ball. He folds like a cheap suit. He gives up 5 straight singles. It's very difficult for some relievers, in fact, most relievers, to come in a dirty inning and get out of it unscathed. Most relievers like to come in a clean inning, no one on base. You put Martin in with runners on 1st and 2nd, nobody out, and expect him to get out of that? There's no excuse to give up 5 straight singles. I understand that. Martin was dreadful. But I can't get on him too much. He's not a bad pitcher. He's actually a solid lefty. It just bugged me to see Chris Woodward send Gibson out there It was clear he didn't have anything left. He put Brett Martin in a really bad spot. Joe Barlow had a tough time getting out of it. At the end of the 6th inning, the Tigers were up 13-0. There's a big difference between being down 6-0 and being down 13-0. Maybe I'm the only guy who's upset about this, but I was not impressed with how Chris Woodward managed that game. I'm not a big Chris Woodward fan. I understand that the Rangers don't have a lot of talent, but it doesn't seem like Woodward is helping the cause. It wouldn't surprise me if the Rangers went in a different direction next year. Moving on now to Mets-Reds. Another crazy game for the Amazons. They've seriously had 3 straight crazy games. I'm not kidding. On Saturday, they were up 6-0 after 7 innings. They lost 9-7. On Sunday, they were down 6-0 after the first inning. They made that crazy play that someone equated to the butt fumble. They won that game 7-6. The Mets were down 7-3 after 2 innings yesterday. They end up winning 15-11. They committed 4 errors, including a terrible one by Luis Guillorme. But they also hit 7 home runs. Edwin Diaz blew another save, but it didn't matter because the Mets had 18 hits. What is going on with this Mets team? Bear in mind they're doing this without their manager, Luis Rojas. He's suspended for a couple games. Dave Joust managed yesterday, and he's going to manage tonight. I like Rojas, let me tell you. It's kind of funny seeing the reaction among Mets fans. You'd be hard-pressed to find an optimistic Mets fan. Every Mets fan thinks that they're going to blow something. Whether it's the division lead, the game in question, whatever trades are in the work. There's no optimistic Mets fan on earth, it seems like. And I understand that. Alright, the Mets haven't given you anything to be optimistic about since 2016. But I'm here to tell you, as a diehard Yankees fan, as a Mets hater, that the Mets are actually a good team. The Mets are better than the Yankees. There's no question about that. Do they have issues? Yes. They've got to reinforce their pitching. Both their starters and their relievers. But they withstood the injury bug that bit them earlier this year. We talk about the Yankees having a AAA lineup. The Mets had a AAA lineup. You got to realize Jeff McNeil was hurt. Michael Conforto was hurt. Brandon Nimmo was hurt. J.D. Davis was hurt. The Mets withstood it. And they're leading the NL East. Make no mistake about it. They can make the playoffs this year. If the season ends today, they'd go up against the Brewers in the NLDS. The Brewers aren't world beaters. They have fantastic pitching, but their offense really doesn't scare me. They've got a few really good power hitters, but that's it. The Mets can beat them. If you were to ask every Mets fan on earth, would they sign up for an NLCS appearance? Maybe they get destroyed by the Giants, maybe they get destroyed by the Dodgers, maybe they get destroyed by the Padres, but they're there in the NLCS. Would they sign up for that? Most of them would say yes. Realize, they haven't won a playoff game since 2015. I'd expect the Mets to be very, very aggressive in adding pitchers. Whatever pitchers you can get, starters, relievers, get them all. If they could somehow get Jose Berrios from the Twins, oh my gosh, that'd be incredible. The Mets do have another issue, though. Edwin Diaz. It's time to face facts. This guy does not have what it takes to pitch in New York. The reality is, he just can't handle it. He can't handle the pressure. I don't want to say that he's not a good pitcher, because he is. I remember what he did in 2018. Led the majors in saves, made the All-Star team. I actually thought that was a good trade, getting Diaz and Cano. And just for whatever it's worth, Jarred Kelenic isn't setting the world on fire in Seattle. He's hitting 115. He was called up in May. He was sent down in early June. The Mariners did call him back up, but he hasn't set the world on fire. Justin Dunn looks really good, but more Mets fans are upset about losing Kelenic. He doesn't look like the second coming of Ichiro. But regardless, Diaz isn't going to work out for the Mets. You've got to move on from him. You hoped that last year would be the start of something special, because Diaz was good. He had 6 saves, went 2-1 with a 1.75 ERA. Now his ERA is ballooned to 4.3. This is the 3rd straight game that he's blown a save. The Mets are in the playoff hunt right now. You can't have your closer blowing 3 straight games. That's inexcusable. That tells me that he can't handle the pressure. That tells me that he can't handle New York. You can't trade Diaz now, but what he can do is add a closer in the next 10 days. Trevor May has been solid in relief of Diaz, but in a perfect world, you'd have him as a setup guy. And then in the offseason, move on from Diaz. Because this guy just can't handle the pressure of New York. It's done. I'm selling Diaz stock. You've got to move on from him. It's just that simple. Alright, now I'll give you some NHL Valk talk. And it seems like we know the first official member of the Seattle Kraken's NHL roster. According to Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, the Kraken are finalizing a 3-year contract with Chris Driedger for $10.5 million. So that's $3.5 million per year. One thing that's worth mentioning, if the Kraken sign Driedger to this contract, he will be their pick from the Panthers. So they can't sign Driedger and take Frank Vetrano or Anton Strawman. Brings up the question, why don't the Kraken just wait? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be sure that you get your guy. The Kraken have been linked to Driedger heavily. And for good reason. I mean, I like Chris Driedger. I've praised him before. The last couple of years, he's been better than Sergei Bobrovsky. Make no mistake about that. Also, you look at his playoff numbers. At first glance, you may say, oh, he's terrible. He went 0-1 with an .871 save percentage and a 3.7 goals against. That's misleading, and I'm going to tell you why. Go game by game. Chris Driedger's first game in the playoffs was Game 2. He only gave up 2 goals. Yes, the Lightning won that game, but Driedger only gave up 2 goals. He had a .929 save percentage, made 26 saves on 28 shots. He was good. Game 3, he got shellacked. He gave up 5 goals. Sergei Bobrovsky came in relief. The Panthers got the win. Bobrovsky then started Game 4. He got shellacked. He gave up 5 goals. Driedger came in relief and only gave up 1 goal. It was on the power play. So Driedger wasn't bad in the playoffs. He really wasn't. And it seems like the Kraken are going to have a really good 1-2 punch in net. It's going to be Driedger and either Ben Bishop, Capo Kakinen, Braden Holtby, Vitek Vanacek, or Carey Price. I'll say this, the Kraken better take Carey Price. You draft the rest of your team around Carey Price. Did you just see what he did in the Stanley Cup playoffs? Led this Canadiens team to the Cup Finals, a Canadiens team that really had no business being there. He was the seminal reason why they beat the Maple Leafs. He was the seminal reason why they swept the Jets. He was the seminal reason why they beat the Golden Knights. Take Carey Price. Make Marc Bergevin look like an idiot. If Price gets taken, there will be riots all over Quebec. And you know what? Bergevin will have no one to blame but himself. I understand that it's a lot of money. But go back to what the Golden Knights did. The Golden Knights provided the template for how you need to draft. They took Marc-Andre Fleury. What has Fleury done? Oh, nothing much. He's just led them to the playoffs every year of their existence. 2018, he was masterful in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Led them to a cup run. 2019, he was excellent. 2020, took a little bit of a step back, but in the playoffs, he actually stepped up a little bit. This past year, he won the Vezina Trophy. If you have the opportunity to take a superstar goalie, a goalie that you know can carry you in the Stanley Cup playoffs, which Marc-Andre Fleury did multiple times for the Penguins, you do it, and you make the other pieces fit. You need to take Carey Price. Carey Price starts 50 games. Chris Driedger starts 32. That works for me. I'll say this. I did draft a team for the Kraken. I used capfriendly.com simulator. And it was kind of funny. The first couple times I did it, I ran into cap issues. I got up to like $80 million the first time, which was good, but I had a ton of pending RFAs to sign. So it's like, okay, I've got to change some things around a little bit. I'll tell you what I did on my special Seattle Kraken expansion draft show that you're going to get on Thursday night. I'm going to go team by team. So what that means is for the Anaheim Ducks, if the Kraken take player X, I'll talk about player X. and then I'll tell you who I would have taken if I was Ron Francis. Maybe it was player X, maybe it was player Y. I will say this, in my cat-friendly simulation, I didn't mock any side deals. I don't know if there are going to be any side deals with the Kraken. Like, hey, you take player X and we'll give you player Y. We haven't heard anything, but if there are those deals, I'll talk about them. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that the Yankees are America's team. You know, mom, apple pie, Gucci loafers, Rolls Royces, those things.